Hi everyone, this is Dr. Priya Mukherjee. I am right now a second year postgraduate student at the Department of Prosthetics at JSS Dental College and Hospital, Mysore. Before starting, I'll just take a minute to actually thank Dental Hub, for making memes, for making videos, for making us laugh incessantly, to making all these educational videos. Thank you so much, and yes, for giving me this platform to share my knowledge. Moving on to the topic, retainers in fixed prosthodontics. It's actually a very simple topic. It's a very logical topic, but yet again, it's very important for the success of the treatment. So let's just start with something very basic, like what is actually fixed prosthodontics? So, as defined by GPT-9, it is a branch of prosthodontics concerned with placement or restoration of teeth by artificial substitutes that cannot be removed from the mouth of the patient. So, the artificial substitutes mentioned in the definition are the retainers. So as I unfold, we'll be talking about classification, criteria for selection of any particular retainer, and furthermore, what are the types of retainers. So retainer is a part of fixed partial denture which unites the abutments to the remainder of the restoration. If we see the first image, these are the abutment teeth. So A and A, both side is the retainer and B is the pontic. So B replaces your missing teeth and A are the retainers. It is any device used for stabilization or retention of prosthesis. Primary function is to provide support and restores form, aesthetics and function of the abutment teeth. Moving on to the types of retainer, the classification of retainer. Based on tooth coverage, it can be extracoronal retainers like full veneer, partial veneer, resin bonded tooth supported fixed partial dentures. Then on the basis of materials used, it can be all metal, it can be metal ceramic, it can be all ceramic, or it can be acrylic. Then we have intracoronal retainers. It can be onlays, it can be inlays, and it can be made up of glass ionomer, composite, amalgam, metal, or ceramic. Since time immemorial, our patients have been asking, how long will my restoration last? जी कितना टाइम चल जाएगा? So, no doubt it's a very logical question, but then again, it is impossible to answer directly. So, we cannot predict how long the restoration will go, but we can always predict the outcome by following the guidelines for selections of the retainer. So, what are the basic criteria? General factors, amount of tooth destruction, aesthetics, plaque, financial considerations. Intraorally, we can evaluate the abutment by seeing the crown root ratio, root configuration, periodontal ligament area. Then there are some biomechanical considerations like bridge span, occlusal gingival dimension, and sometimes we might encounter special problems like pyre abutments, tilted molar abutment, cantilever fixed partial denture. Moving on to the general factors. So as and when our patient comes, we can evaluate this very easily that how much is the amount of tooth destruction. This will directly decide the type of retainer so that the remaining tooth structure must gain strength and protection from the restoration. Then aesthetics. So a highly visible area, or if the patient is very discriminating regarding aesthetic effect, so the choice of restoration will automatically change. Like in this image, we know, the patient's smile is worth $1 million, but we really don't need to show it, right? So we can always switch from gold or cast metal restorations to more aesthetic restorations. Then is plaque. This is something what the patient does not know, but we know. So the use of cemented restorations demand the institution and maintenance of a good plaque control. So the patient should be educated to follow a regimen of brushing, flossing, and dietary regulation to eliminate disease process completely. Lastly, financial considerations, because for all the effort we do, there should be someone to pay for the treatment. So a dentist must walk a fine ethical line. Once we are done with this, we can go intraorally and evaluate our abutment. What is an abutment? It is that part of a structure that directly receives thrust or pressure. Abutment teeth are called upon to withstand the forces normally directed to missing teeth in addition to those usually applied to the abutment. So if we see the image carefully, these are our abutment teeth. This is the pontic, this replaces the missing part, and these are the anchor crowns. Anchor crowns or the retainers which will be placed over the abutment teeth and will generate support. So, general guidelines which should be followed. Abutment should be vital whenever possible. If it is endodontically treated, then the tooth structure should have enough coronal part to support the retainer. By chance, with preparation, you happen to encroach the pulp, it is better that we treat it endodontically before moving forward for our FPD fabrication. And it should exhibit no amount of mobility. Like if we know that with periodontal therapy, the mobility will go. So first step should be the periodontal therapy and then should be the FPD fabrication. Then for closer evaluation, the roots and the supporting tissue should be seen. For crown root ratio, for root configuration, and for the periodontal ligament area. Crown root ratio. So 2:3 is the optimum crown root ratio. I again repeat, it's the optimum crown root ratio. So twice coronal and thrice root structure. This is a very common MCQ question also. They'll ask what is the optimum crown root ratio. They'll put both the options. So optimum is 2:3, but 1:1 can also go. So if we have but opposing arch teeth which are either mobile or periodontally weak, or we know there's a removable partial denture in the opposing arch, then the occluding force will automatically be diminished. So in these cases, the crown root ratio can be greater than 1:1. It will be of no problem. Then is root configuration. So longer roots, roots broader labiolingually like in canine, or multi-rooted posterior teeth with divergent roots. They offer better support. Conical roots, diffused roots, they usually are not very good choice for abutments. Hence, these type, they provide superior choice for an abutment. Then, periodontal ligament area. So it is obvious. Larger abutment teeth, greater surface area which would help the abutment teeth to endure stress better. So there's a famous Anti's law which states the root surface area of the abutment teeth has to be equal or has to surpass that of the teeth replaced with pontics. So like if we see the first situation, the periodontal ligament area of the premolar and the molar together surpasses the missing teeth. In the second situation, it is almost equal. The prognosis might be fair. But in the third situation, the prognosis will be very poor because the periodontal ligament area is very much less than the pontics to be replaced. So in this case, it's a complete no. Now, if we combine physics and biology together, we get biomechanical considerations. So there's a simple thing that flexure, bending or deflection varies directly with the cube of the length and inversely with the cube of occlusogingival thickness. So if this image is 1 unit of deflection, if we increase the length of our FPD by 3 times, the deflection or the flexibility will increase by 27 times cube. And if we decrease the occlusal gingival thickness, again the flexibility will increase by 8 times. So if there's a situation that mandible and we are giving a long span and the teeth have short clinical crowns, both ways it will have a very poor prognosis. One, increase in length, and second will be the decreased occlusogingival thickness. So in these cases, one, we must try for short spans. Second, if short span is not possible, we can go for additional support, which I will be discussing further. And for occlusogingival thickness, it should be increased a little bit, but not again too much. Or we can use metals which yield which do not yield under stress, like nickel chromium or cobalt chromium. They are good choice. Next is something known as double abutments. So in this scenario, supposedly we have to replace lateral to lateral and we take canine as our support. So the canine faces immense talking on it, and hence it might lead to the failure of the FPT. So in order to support the canine, we add secondary abutments. What are secondary abutments? These are nothing but they help the primary abutments. In this case, primary is canine, secondary abutment is the premolar. Again, the qualities of the secondary abutment do not differ from the primary abutment. They should have at least as much as root surface area, they should have sufficient crown, and they should prevent impingement on the gingiva under the connector. So this will enable equal load arm, equal effort arm, and hence the force on the FPT will reduce considerably. Then we come on to some special kind of problems like Peyer abutments. So what is a Peyer abutment? A natural tooth or implant abutment that is located between terminal abutments that serve as a support to FPT. Its use is restricted to short span only. So we have a non-rigid type of connector here placed here, right in the middle. Why in the middle? The same principle, like your effort and your load arm should be equal. And then most commonly a T-shaped key is attached to the pontic. So this dotted line is the T-shaped key which is attached to the pontic, and a dovetail shaped keyway is attached to the retainer to receive this key. Again, why is it on the distal side only and why not on the mesial side? Because teeth in general under load show mesial movement. So if we have this on the mesial side, it will have an unseating action. If we have it on the distal side, a locking mechanism will occur and it will help seat the key and the keyway, and hence help to distribute the load. Basically, it acts as a stress breaker. Then the second problem is tilted molar abutments. Patient got his teeth extracted, then does not care about it, then there's a function, comes to us, ji daant laga do. So the problem that comes is tilting of the second molar, and along with that there will be tilting of the third molar also if present. So what kind of solutions we can go for this is, either we can straighten the teeth orthodontically, but then again it requires a lot of time, like good 2 to 3 months. Next option is we can go for something known as telescopic crown and coping. So it requires a full crown preparation with heavy reduction, which is made to follow the long axis of the tilted molar. So an inner coping is made to fit the tooth preparation, and a proximal half crown serves as a retainer. Then another thing we can do is we can just proximally prepare it to achieve this parallelism. But then again, the tooth should not exhibit any kind of caries involvement. Lastly, we can tilt our preparation only, and then we can have a rigid connector which fits in a we can have a non-rigid connector which fits in this premolar in a slot-like preparation. Lastly, cantilever fixed partial dentures. Usually, it is not recommended, but if and when we have to give a cantilever fixed partial denture, we should see that the abutment teeth have long roots, good clinical crown, and healthy periodontium. And generally, to replace one teeth, we should have at least two abutments. But the points to be taken under care are: the pontic should not have any occlusal contact on either incentric or lateral excursions, and if possible to reduce the surface area of the pontic. Like in this case, even it's a molar, we can place a premolar here. So now, since we have covered what are situations require what kind of retainers, like high stress or low stress, we can move on to the type of retainers. So based on the tooth coverage, there are full veneer crowns. They are the most retentive preparations because it involves all the walls of the abutment. And indications are small abutment tooth or long edentulous span and endodontically treated teeth. So here are the various pictures of types of retainers. This is a cast metal retainer. This is a porcelain fused to metal retainer. Then the same, when given anteriorly, gives a metal show. Like it will give a metal show posteriorly also, but posteriorly it does not matter as much as it matters anteriorly. So to replace this, we have all ceramic and also all acrylic retainers. So here only I'll take a moment to go about the materials also, because whatever kind of tooth coverage it is, the type of materials are basic. So like first is cast metal. We can use a type 4 or type 3 gold alloy, or we can use cobalt chromium or nickel chromium alloy depending upon what is the allergy status of the patient. The advantage is there's less reduction of tooth, there's high tensile strength, but disadvantage is obviously the metal show. So for that, we have metal ceramic. It combines the strength of the metal and the aesthetics of the porcelain. So it's efficacious for long spans, and in situations like where the teeth might not provide adequate strength for all ceramic, this is a good choice. Moving on to all ceramic, yes, it has superior aesthetics, can be used for anterior. Now, there are various ceramic systems like aluminous core, slip casting, heat pressed, machined ceramics. Like these are all the ways by which ceramic is produced. So, if I have to take factory names or manufacturer names, for example, IPS Max, it is a type of heat pressed ceramic. Then zirconia reinforced with lithium disilicate is machined ceramic. Machined ceramic is nothing but CAD-CAM. So yes, these are all relatives only, but yes, because of the manufacturing procedure, the strength of each one varies. And finally, we have all acrylic. It is only given for provisional restoration. It can be made up of heat cure or cold cure. Then we again move on to the type of retainer on the basis of tooth coverage. This is partial veneer crown. Partial is, it is a conservative preparation which requires less reduction of tooth structure than a full coverage crown. So for posterior teeth, we have 3/4, modified 3/4, and 7/8. For anterior teeth, there is 3/4 and pin ledge modified. Indications: to restore posterior teeth that have lost moderate amount of tooth structure, or it has an intact buccal wall or buccal and lingual wall both. And contraindications, long span FPD, it cannot be used. Or short clinical crown, endodontically treated tooth, high caries indexed, and shape and alignment of the teeth is not proper. So if we see the images, this one is a 3/4 for premolar. This is the actual image. This is a 7/8 for molar. Only this is where facial wall. This is the actual image. And this is the one done for anteriors. Finally, we come to resin bonded fixed partial denture design. So the types are Rochette, Maryland, Virginia, cast mesh, fiber reinforced composite bridge. So this is Rochette bridge. Rochette actually derives its mechanical support from the perforations it has got. To overcome this, there was Maryland bridge. This is Maryland. This has micromechanical retention because of the electrolytic etching. This is Virginia. Again, it derives macromechanical strength from the lost salt technique. And we have cast mesh. Cast mesh is also a macromechanical retention. A newer form of conservative preparation is fiber reinforced composite bridge. So we attach a fiber from one teeth to other and ply with the composite and hence do the build-up. Indications would be missing anterior teeth in children. Why in children? Because children have high pulp horns. So to do it for a cast metal or all ceramic, it would require a lot of reduction of the tooth, which would endanger the pulp horns. So we can go for a more conservative approach. Then short span bridges, because yes, they cannot take a lot of load, and post orthodontic treatment just to conserve the space. Contraindications: insufficient occlusal clearance, deep vertical overlap, parafunctional habits, and high caries index. So the image here, basically a wink preparation was done on both these teeth and monolithic zirconia crown was given. Resin bonded crown was given. Now we are done with extracoronal retainers. We are done with all the materials which are used. Now we come to intracoronal retainers, which can be of two types, onlays and inlays. This is an inlay, this is an onlay. Defining it, inlay is a fixed intracoronal restoration which is made outside of a tooth to correspond to the form of prepared cavity and then is luted to the tooth. Onlay, partial coverage restoration that restores one or more cusps and adjoining occlusal surfaces of or the entire occlusal surface and is retained by mechanical or adhesive means. So this is glass ionomer type, this is metal type, and this is ceramic type. So in conclusion, I would like to state that dental arch is not static but a state of dynamic equilibrium and the teeth support each other. So to maintain this support, form and function, our treatment plan can vary from single tooth to rehabilitation of entire dentition. But the needs of the patient always precedent over the convenience of the dentist. So our treatment plan should be kept in mind, treatment, simplifications, and all the guidelines should be followed with the same. So before signing off, I have this small activity. So these are three situations, three schematic diagrams. The pink in these diagrams represents the missing teeth. So you can go back into the presentation or look into your books and draw up a treatment plan for all these three situations. Maybe comment as well, we can have a discussion. Anyway, thank you so much. I hope it was of little help to you guys, and please like, share and subscribe. Share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and yes, you can comment as well for what all more kind of videos you would want. Thank you so much.